Videocast number 116, the transition process. This week, Scoutmaster Dave, we're going to talk a little bit about the transition process from Cub Scouts to the Boy Scouting programs, or more specifically, ScoutsBSA. While boys and girls can join a troop at any time over the age of 11 until 17, Cubs transitioning from the Cub Scouting program can begin the ScoutsBSA experience at age 10 and a half once they've earned the Hour of Light. Commonly, this takes place after a ceremony called the Blue and Gold, but this does not have to be the case. Once they earn their Hour of Light, they can transition immediately. One of the parts of the Hour of Light, however, is finding and visiting a troop and doing some activities with them. In last week's video, we discussed a little bit about the process of finding a troop. But one of the key reasons for this is that it's not an automatic process, as many packs do not have troops directly aligned with them, but some do, and treat it as an extension of the larger Boy Scouts of America program. There are some logistics as Cub leader that need to be considered as your second-year Webelos Scouts prepare for the transition as your pack normally does. Firstly, as I mentioned, it's important for the Cubs to have completed their Hour of Light requirements, and it's a good idea to meet with your Webelos den leader periodically to make sure that this is happening, as there is that 6-month hole otherwise. And as we know, the longer a time between programs will mean less Scouts transitioning and continuing with the larger program. Another point of concern is the actual mechanics of the transition. When Cubs transfer to the Boy Scouting ScoutsBSA program, they need to fill out the standard Boy Scout application. On this application, there's a part that indicates the Scout in question is transferring from Cubs to ScoutsBSA. As part of this, they need to check the checkbox and input the Cub Scout pack they're coming from. By doing this, they're considered a transfer application. There are a number of good reasons to do this. First and foremost, there is no additional charge to the ScoutsBSA unit due to national, as the Scouts would have already been registered with the Cub pack. The second point is that all of the Scouts' information is transferred and not created new. So it reduces the burden on your local council by not having to rekey all the same information, and any trainings or awards such as Hour of Light are still associated with the Scout. When filling out the form, if they have their ID number to enter, all the better, but most do not have this when filling out the form. From the pack's perspective, it might seem tempting to not register Webelos 2 Scouts when they re-register in December or January. But doing this means that they're not covered under the BSA insurance and not registered, so their Hour of Light does not technically count or get recorded if they're not registered. So if you're one of those pack units that don't register Webelos 2, it's not a good thing and can cause some issues down the line, so register your Scouts. True, it doesn't seem particularly fair as you don't get reimbursed when they leave, but assuming you're passing on the cost of re-registration to the Scouts family, they essentially have paid for it already. On the flip side, there are usually some costs the troop will pass on to the newly minted Boy Scouts. Usually the dues, some part of the rest of the year, depending on how this is handled, might be for a month or two or for the remainder of the year. In our troop, we do the remainder of the year as we ask for dues all at once to reduce paperwork and dealing with money during the year for outside trips and such. Other than dues, usually there's a fee for any uniform parts and materials the troop passes along to the Scout. This will depend on your troop. In ours, we give the Scouts a Class B troop t-shirt, some uniform numbers, a hat and neckerchief, and a Scout book, and we pass along the actual cost rounded up to make it easy. As of today, I believe we asked for about $100, half of which goes to troop dues and half of which to supplies. But since the fee to national and the local councils already paid, there is not a fee that we pass on. If your unit is one of those that is double dipping a bit and passing on the national and local fee, it's a good thing to remember a scout is trustworthy, so you may want to re-examine this. Once a scout transitions, they immediately stop going to pack events and meetings and start going to troop meetings and events, sometimes as early as the next day depending on the meeting schedule. There are some packs that will let their oldest boys that just transitioned to race in the Pinewood Derby one last time, and while I personally might frown on it, there might be traditions in place that keep this going, and there is really nothing barring it from happening that I know of. While the transition can be hard for some families, as the programs are different, it's important to try and respect the boundaries of the programs, and it does make the transition easier. But this is what works for us. Take what you like, leave the rest, as we say in Wood Badge, feedback is a gift. Leave yours below in the comments with all the hope we can learn together. I'm Scoutmaster Dave, and this was the Cub to Boy Scout transition process.